Hello everyone! The devs have just announced a new skin with 20% cavalry defense from Zenith of Power. Today we're talking about when the Zenith of Power event is expected to start and how much power you'll need to gain to get the skin. I'll also give you a step-by-step guide on how to prepare for this event. It will be the ultimate Zenith of Power guide. Throughout my whole playtime, I managed to win this event twice as a low spender, so I definitely have some experience to share. To start off, let's talk about the new skin and figure out who actually needs it. This is a skin for 20% cavalry defense, and it's definitely the highest defense bonus we've ever gotten for cavalry. The alternatives to this skin are 20% cavalry attack and 15% cavalry health. Honestly, after the introduction of the new Crystal Academy, I'm not a big fan of defense for open field play, and I prefer attack, even though cavalry doesn't get much defense from its gear. That's why I think this skin is more useful for garrison and rally leaders, but I wouldn't say it's a huge upgrade if you already have the 20% cavalry attack or the 15% cavalry health skins. Especially when we talk about garrisons. The new cavalry garrison meta, David, has defense in his skills, and same with Hector, so for them, this skin won't be a major boost compared to the older skins. To sum it up, if you're a garrison or rally leader and every % of efficiency matters to you, then yes, you'll want this skin. Just keep in mind it won't give you a big power spike compared to the previous options. As for field players, I wouldn't really recommend it unless you can get it for cheap in your seed. In that case, it's not a bad investment. Now, about the price of this skin. The devs say if you gain 40 million power, you'll be guaranteed to get it. If you remember, the previous mixed troop skin required 60 million power, so this one is cheaper, but also less interesting. Honestly, I don't think this skin is really worth spending 40 million power on, and I think if your seed doesn't have very strong kingdoms and the competition isn't high, you might be able to get it cheaper. I'd say around 20 to 30 million power. But I don't recommend anyone joining this Zenith unless you're capable of pushing 40 million power, otherwise it's a big risk. When will Zenith of Power start? To answer that, let's look at the dates of previous Zeniths and compare. Zenith of Power happens once every 3 months, and if we look at last year, we can say this Zenith should be at the end of December. I think it'll also be around December 20th, and that means if you want to participate, you need to start prepping for it already. In the title of this video, you saw that this is the ultimate Zenith of Power guide, and that's true, but I don't know when you'll be watching this, so I'm just going to talk about preparing for the Zenith that's coming this December. But before I start, I want to warn you, if you're not a high spender in the game, participating in Zenith can literally drain your account because you'll have to spend a lot of speed-ups that you could have used for fighting, which would boost your stats, give you better rewards, and actually help your kingdom. But if you're determined to do it, then here's a short step-by-step guide on how to prepare for Zenith and how many speed-ups you'll need. If the calculations are correct, we have about 2 weeks left before Zenith, and we need to start training troops ahead of time. Activate the 20,000 reserves to start training T5 troops. They'll be training for around 15 days. If you don't have T5 yet, activate the 50,000 reserves and start training 30,000 T4. That will also take around 15 days. This is a very important step that gives you a good head start, so don't ignore it. If you're planning to participate in a different Zenith and you have more time than we do now, then activate reserves a month before Zenith starts and train 50,000 T5. Next is the most important part, speed-ups. If you're a T5 player and the only way you can gain power is through troops, then to get 40 million power you'll need around 7 years worth of speed-ups. And if we're talking about the mixed troop skin, then to reach 60 million power you'll need around 10 years of speed-ups. It's important to note that these are approximate numbers. In the calculations I assumed you have about 1,500,000 T4 and that you'll retrain them. It's also possible the skin will cost less than the guaranteed price in your seed, but either way, you must have enough speed-ups for the guaranteed skin so you don't destroy your account if something goes wrong. I hope that makes sense. Basically, you need a lot of speed-ups. Where can you get them? I won't go over every single method like different events, exchanging speedups, marauders, etc. Instead, I'll focus on the less obvious ones. I recommend paying attention to Balur. One full run gives you 1,800 gems and 2 days of mixed-type speedups. You can do 2 full runs per day. In many kingdoms, people run it in organized groups, so it goes pretty fast. The second method is chaining barbs on the KVK map. Use as many marches as you can to burn through action points quicker. The third method, and I'll call it a last resort, and here's why. If Zenith is coming soon, and you don't have enough speedups, but you really want the skin, you can kill your T5 troops to get compensation in the form of speedups. I'm talking about the method many players use with Kill Their Siege at the end of KVK. In short, you send a march with the troops you want to kill to a resource node and ask someone to hit you with 5 marches. After some time, the game gives you compensation as speedups. If I'm not mistaken, you get back around 15% of the killed troops as speedups if you're on the KVK map, plus you get 50% of the troops back after KVK, which overall isn't terrible. But it's important to understand, this is a last resort. It literally hurts your account long-term and is very inefficient. I'm only mentioning it because it might help someone reach power for guaranteed skin when their saved speedups run out. And the fourth method is buying speedups in the VIP shop. I mention this because many don't realize it's more cost-effective than buying them in the courier station. A 60% discount on 24-hour speedups in the VIP shop isn't the same as a 60% discount on 1-hour speedups in the courier station. So I've given you some tips on where to get speedups. Now I want to show you a table I made so you can roughly estimate how many gems you could get per month, depending on how much you spend in the game. This matters because gems are what give you the most speedups. I didn't include middle or high spenders. Their spending patterns are too individual anyway. Hardcore players, those who, during off-season, do Balur across the whole map, and during KVK chain barb marches and farm gems, that's a lot of time and not for everyone, but the rewards are really impressive. Here you can see how many speedups you can get in the most recommended events for gathering materials, because I believe Zenith shouldn't interfere with your gear progression. Preparing for Zenith may take about a year, and over that time your gear should also advance. To clarify, no Zenith skin is worth you ignoring your gear progression for a long time. The next important point is to train only T2 and T4 troops so you can retrain them later. Training T2 is useful when you need to complete certain events. Having a good stock of T4 is really important because retraining them doesn't require that many speedups and gives a solid amount of power. The next recommendation is for those who haven't unlocked T5 yet, or only partially have. If your buildings and academy aren't maxed, that's actually an advantage for you. First of all, stop spending speedups on them. Let them build and research on their own. Use a RoK calculator to figure out how much power you can gain and how many speedups you'll need. Pay special attention to gold mines and hospitals. They give a lot of power. Make sure to calculate everything so you know exactly how much power you can get from buildings and academy. This is my table from 2022, back when I wasn't a T5 player yet. Feels like ages ago. As you can see, back then, I calculated how many total speedups I had, how many I needed for buildings and academy, and all my resources, just to be sure I had enough for everything. That's the end of the preparation phase for Zenith. Now let's talk about what to do once the event actually starts. First of all, I recommend switching your civilization bonus to training speed or research speed. You can buy civilization change items in the Alliance shop or for gems. And let me remind you, before you fully commit to participating, make sure you calculate all your resources and speed-ups so you know for sure you have enough. At the start of Zenith of Power, don't rush to push power. Wait for a good rune and don't forget to ask for a title. Keep an eye on the leaderboard, evaluate the situation. But don't leave everything for the last moment. Pushing power takes time, especially if you don't have a huge amount of reserves. A couple of hours before the event ends, many players will start pushing, so be ready for that. I recommend preparing in advance. Set up troop reserves or buildings and academy tasks so you're ready to push if needed. Of course, this is only for those who have a chance to get the skin cheaper than the guaranteed price. But here's my advice. It's better to overpay for the skin than to miss it completely because you got greedy. I hope this video was helpful and that you'll be able to get the skin you want. Thanks for watching.